occurred is common to everyone on that plane, but each and every family's damages are different. So in this first lawsuit filed in the federal district court for here in Washington in the District of Columbia will serve as a guiding complaint for the rest of the families to follow. Because we uniquely are in a position of suing the federal government, and there are rules regarding the right to sue the federal government, we had to file, all the families have to file what's called a Form 95. It's a document that asserts that a claim is being made against the government, and the government has 6 months in which to accept or deny the claim, and they always deny it, and they usually wait until the 5th month and 29th day. But because of Rachel Crafton having been the first to file that claim, I filed that claim right after she was retained me as counsel. We are in a position of getting that complaint on file, and it includes the claim against American, and we are joined by our co-counsel in this representation, the Kreinler & Kreinler firm and Spicer Krause out of New York, because all of the families want to seek those answers, and they want to do so as expeditiously as possible, but the others cannot yet file suits. When they do, they'll file them in the federal court, presumably, and the court will consolidate these cases together for the litigation discovery that will unfold. We sued American Airlines and PSA because they are the common carrier that was entrusted with the responsibility to provide the care and safety at the highest degree possible for the traveling public. A common carrier has a duty. It's not just a duty to avoid negligence. Operators of a motor vehicle can't run through a red light. Operators of a commercial aircraft cannot run through yellow lights. And they ran blatantly for years, many red lights here, by allowing these planes to operate in the navigable space at DCA, knowing that there was massive congestion, that there was a massive intersection between military traffic regarding runways that were unique and required special training that they failed to provide to their pilots. The complaint against American is set out in a way that emphasizes their responsibility. All of you are familiar, of course, with the recent hearings that were conducted here in Washington by the NTSB investigating this crash. That investigation is focused on the probable cause of what happened that day. But that investigation is not as wide in scope as is necessary for the families to fully understand what American knew, when they knew it, and what they could have done to prevent it. And it is known that American had the ability, because of their notice of near misses, a massive number of near misses, that they nevertheless allowed their customers to be exposed to the dangers associated with those near misses, even though they sought additional gates, they sought additional landings and takeoffs, and they did everything possible to maximize their ability to shuttle passengers in and out of that airport. So there is that focus in the complaint on the fact that there's a corporate negligence and accountability that existed for a long time before that fateful night. Then the complaint does complain about and focuses on the conduct of the pilots that evening. And I know it's tough for some people to hear, but I assure you that all the lawyers associated with this case have consulted with experts of the highest caliber, integrity, and credibility who do in fact have things to say about the performance of the pilots that night that could have prevented this disaster. Whether it was associated between accepting the runway that they used, or it was associated with the 19 seconds that they had to respond to the alerts about traffic that, to the best of our knowledge from the record, were not responded to at all, and that, we believe, is a responsibility that they had that night. And I say that with all due respect to the fact that those people lost their lives as well. But had the Army done what it was supposed to do, had the FAA done what it was supposed to do, none of this would happen. And that's where, if you look in the body of the complaint, we turn to the FAA. And we talk about the fact that the FAA allowed this environment to exist, knowing that there was massive congestion and these number of near misses. We turn to the FAA and their responsibility to properly provide air traffic control that was not fully provided and properly provided on that evening. And so you'll find, folks, if you review that complaint, that the records are replete with information that had people paid attention to it, people who were entrusted with the safe passage of the passengers on that flight, the 60 passengers, plus the 4 crew, plus the 3 individuals in the helicopter. This disaster, these 67 souls would never have lost their lives that evening. I would like to take the time to introduce you to Mr. Daley Crafton. Mr. Daley Crafton is the brother of Casey. Daley has been known to many of you already, and he would like to respond to a couple of the questions he's already received, and also to supply some remarks for you today. Daley?
My name is Daley Crafton. Hello and good afternoon. Brother of Casey Crafton, I would like to share the following remarks on behalf of my sister-in-law, Rachel Crafton, Casey's wife of 16 years and mother of their 3 sons. Nearly 8 months ago, our loved one, Casey Crafton, and 66 other people were killed when a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter collided with American Eagle Flight 5342. And nearly 8 months ago, our lives were shattered in a moment, and the grief has been unimaginable. The future we dreamed about was taken away from us. Casey was a devoted father and husband, and we built a beautiful life together. He was a loving brother, a supportive son, a committed employee, a selfless friend, and he made everyone around him feel valued and respected. The world was a better place because he was in it. Because of this avoidable tragedy, my young sons and I have to go through life without the love, support, guidance, and laughter Casey gave to us on a daily basis. I'm left to raise our sons alone, and these days, weeks, and months have been unbearable as grief weighs heavily over every moment that should have been a celebration with Casey. His entire career was in the aviation industry, first as an aviation mechanic, and then as a technical service manager, and he was very dedicated to bettering himself and the systems he worked within. His honesty, attention to detail, and standard of safety was second to none, yet because of systemic failures and reckless disregard for safety, his life, along with 66 others, was taken. Casey was betrayed by the system he trusted. We all were. As his wife, I cannot stand by and allow his life to be lost in vain. Today we are taking legal action because the accountability of American Airlines, PSA Airlines, and the Army and FAA is the only way to ensure this never happens again and no other families have to live with the pain we have to endure each day without Casey.
Introduce Mr. Brian Alexander from the law firm of Kreinler & Kreinler in New York and elsewhere.
Thank you, Bob. My name is Brian Alexander, and I'm a partner with the law firm of Kreinler & Kreinler, and we have the honor of representing 34 families who lost loved ones in this terrible, preventable crash. Bob spent a couple minutes talking about the culpability of the airlines, but the lawsuit will also address the complete and total failure of the Army helicopter crew to follow basic fundamental principles of flight, namely the duty to see and avoid the American jet. And as a former Army aviator, someone who was assigned to that very same unit, someone who flew up and down that river on that route hundreds of times, it is deeply distressing to me that this occurred, and the conduct of the helicopter crew was so inexcusable. The lawsuit will also address air traffic control. And the way to think about air traffic control is the controllers are basically the lifeguards for our aviation system. They're the ones watching over to make sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. And if they're not, to make sure to take action to make it safe and to prevent accidents. The primary duty of an air traffic controller is to separate traffic and to avoid mid-air collisions. In this particular case, they completely failed to meet that responsibility. And specifically, among many other things, the controllers here failed to issue a safety alert to the aircraft, advising them to immediately change course to avoid the mid-air collision. These are the two cornerstones of the lawsuit and our effort to bring these parties to justice and to also answer additional questions and to help the families in their effort to make sure it never happens again. No one here can possibly imagine what the families are going through, the devastation that has been caused as a result of this terrible crash. Their lives will never, ever be the same. They are completely and forever changed. They grieve each and every day for the loss of their loved ones. And yet, each and every day, they tirelessly work to improve the aviation system for the flying public and to make sure that this does not happen again. And I'm proud and privileged to introduce Doug Lane, who lost his wonderful and beautiful wife, Christine, and his amazing and talented son, Spencer. And he will be talking to you about those efforts to make our system safe. Doug?
While today is about Casey Crafton and his beautiful family, I, along with a number of other family members affected by this collision, are here to deliver the message that the Crafton family are not on this journey alone. Over 120 of us that were affected by this tragedy have banded together to become something both beautiful and powerful. We've supported each other through birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, weddings that were planned but never held, Little League and figure skating seasons that started with missing coaches, missing competitors, and missing parents in the stands. We've also turned our grief into action. We've collaborated with Congress on critical air safety reforms. We've secured a much-needed set of oversight investigations into the FAA, and we will not rest until similar investigations are underway into the U.S. Army. And we'll bring that same level of passion and relentlessness as we seek accountability and change through the legal process. Many of us have been asked whether we dread the idea of rehashing the worst days of our lives in court. Our answer today is clear. We're ready. Nothing will help our healing process more than seeing the negligence, bureaucracy run amok, and the instances of putting corporate profits over public safety on full display. And we are here to see this process through, however long it takes, to ensure that our family members have a lasting legacy that makes the world safer for everyone who flies. Thank you.
We will now open things up for questions from the media. We would ask you to please identify yourself and your affiliation and direct your questions to the members in front. Thank you.
Okay, no questions, we can go home.
I think we got a couple.
Hi, Will Geisman at the Air Current. Thanks for having us. Perhaps a question for the council, if you could give an indication of perhaps how many other families have filed complaints with the government, and how many you may expect to be. I realize it's a tricky question if you don't represent them directly, but just a ballpark to understand.
Oh, sure. To the best of my knowledge, the majority of families have filed claim forms with the U.S. government. A claim form is not a lawsuit.
Right.
So a precondition to suing the government is this Form 95 claim form. That starts the clock. You cannot sue the government before them, unlike the ability to sue American. You could have sued American the day after the crash. So that's part one. Part two, when any other family now files, if they do file in the federal district court, because of the docketing statement that you must accompany with your complaint, you have to check off, is there a related case? That will get checked off. I just looked at my phone a moment ago to see if we've gotten an assignment yet. We don't yet have an assigned judge yet. We will hopefully by the end of the day, or the clerk's office tells us first thing in the morning. Once that docketing statement for a new filing does take place, routinely the clerk's office would send that lawsuit to that judge, and then as many more come in and the same process unfolds, the judge at some juncture, she will decide, he will decide whether to consolidate them into one proceeding, which would likely be the case. So for an example, I currently serve as lead counsel for all the families against Boeing in the crash of Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 in March of 2019. All of the cases filed there, 140 cases were filed. They were consolidated ultimately before the same federal district court judge in Chicago.
Thank you.
When those facilities turn under construction come online, Texas, which is far ahead of any other state, we're not going to be compared to other states. We're going to be compared to
From. On information and belief, we think that there has been a history of specific training that did go on for DCA that at one point in time historically was stopped. So that's part one, and that's based upon our work product and investigation to date. So that is that part of the information I think you're seeking. And the next part will come when we have the right to take depositions of the individuals or who are with American and PSA to dive into the specific training they did or did not give to their pilots for DCA.
Of a runway 33 circling approach. So there's more to come on that, but that's an example of the information that we expect to find.
And to supplement that just a little bit, be mindful of what I said in my opening remarks. The NTSB is not focused on this feature of the liability that we see on behalf of the families. They focus on the probable cause of what occurred that day, and the scope of their inquiry is not as broad. Certainly it came out during the NTSB hearing cycle that there were all these near misses, but they will not have the resources, they will not have the subpoena power that we will have now to dive into that specifically to know exactly what American knew, when they knew it, and what they did or didn't do about it. And we have, once again, through our investigation, talked to sources that have told us that the airlines in fact knew all of these details that was referenced during the disclosure during the hearings about the near misses.
Homa Bash with Fox 5 DC. I know there is some movement in Congress, there are the NTSB recommendations, but realistically, what is a timeline for this lawsuit to move through? You're seeking a jury trial, and a timeline for some actionable items to go underway.
Sure. The timeline on the lawsuit is oftentimes, and it's obviously up to the court, but when we counsel clients, we typically tell them that the average time of a lawsuit can be 2 to 3 years. Some cases take longer. COVID interfered and wreaked havoc throughout the litigation cycle across America. That lawsuit is separate and distinct from the efforts that you've heard discussed